We might as well just jump right into what I think is going to be one of the 2 to 3 best camp battles, and that's who's going to be cornerback number 2. There's a lot of names there. Jalen Gilbo, Kobe Black. Does Warren Roberson play out there? Does Cade Phillips, freshman year, take that over? And that's the thing too, guys. Like, I think Malik Muhammad is definitely a downgrade from Jahdae Barron, but there's a possibility the cornerback 2 could actually play as good as Malik Muhammad did last year, at least in big games. Who do you think that's going to be, Gerald, and why do you think that is?
Yeah, and I think the nickel spot also kind of complicates this conversation just because it's such a key spot in that defense. And it's, Jahdae Barron was that guy last year who won a Thorpe playing that spot. And so I ultimately, I think Kobe Black is probably the guy I would pick just because of he's more of a pure corner, I would say, than I think the other. Like when you talk about Jalen Gilbo, I have Jalen Gilbo at that nickel spot just because I think he probably skews closer to Jahdae Barron than anybody else on the roster. And so when I think about like where folks fit and the success of the defense, I would put Jalen Gilbo at that nickel spot. And then Kobe Black as that other cornerback. I just think his mix of athleticism, size, speed, he's kind of like tailor built to be the guy in that spot. I wouldn't be shocked if either guy, I'd be happy with either guy playing. And I think Texas has, I wouldn't, again, I really have Gilbo in my mind as the nickel guy. I don't know why I can't move past that, regardless of whatever evidence is out there. Maybe it's just because I like his skill set. I think it reminds me of Jahdae Barron in a lot of ways. But ultimately, back to the question, I think Kobe Black is the guy. I like the size. I like the speed. I like the ability to be that. He's a guy who can play one-to-one man if he needs to. He's physical enough. He's big enough. But also, I think he plays zone really well, communicates really well. So when you need to make those pass offs between zones, I think he's able to do that. So long-winded way to get there. I think Kobe Black is probably my answer.
Yeah. So I think they're going to handle this multiple different ways. I think early on, it's probably going to be Jalen Gilbo out there because of the experience level. Like when we play Ohio State, I don't think I want Kobe Black's first start coming in that game. I don't think I want Cade Phillips' first start coming in that game. So I think early on, you're going to see a lot of Jalen Gilbo out there just because he knows the defense. He's going to be able to react. But later in the season, I do think you're going to see him kind of being faded out of cornerback number 2. And I think you're going to see Kobe Black or Cade Phillips take over because they're just more physically gifted and can play that position better. They're both 6'1", 6'2" guys that are long, lengthy, can drop back, read the quarterback size in the cover 3, make a read on the ball, or one-on-one down the sideline. They can play the ball and they can play the man. They can also turn their head around. That used to be a really big issue with Texas cornerbacks not being able to play the ball in the air. I think both those guys can do that. And I think Jalen Gilbo can do that as well. I just don't think he has the necessary foot speed in game to do so. I know he's been clocked GPS wise at like 21, 22 miles an hour, but that's also, running drills and everything like that. That's totally different than reading, reacting in game. And I think that's where people mix it up with Jahdae Barron. Like, I think his 40 time was better because obviously he trained for that. But if you just told him to get on a track and run to 40, I don't think he's the fastest guy in the world. But he played super fast because he was super intelligent and trusted his eyes and the system. So imagine if you could get guys that are more athletic, like a Kobe Black and Cade Phillips, to do that. You have like a stud out there, another guy at the cornerback 2 position. So I do think it's going to be one of them. And then, I think Jelani McDonald is going to be the nickel. I've said this for like 3 or 4 months. He's just a perfect fit for that role. Like sideline to sideline. He reminds me so much of Jahdae Barron because he's come downhill. He's physical. He can play in space. And I think he's just ready for a big role. And we've heard that out of sources, apparently, like inside text, on text reporting of, hey, this guy could be the 3rd best player on the defense, which is high praise for Jelani McDonald. But we've seen it when he plays. He's a really, really good football player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who's started 4 games, I think, last year. Like, there's the coaching staff trusts him. He's got played quite a bit last year. I think more at a safety role than at a corner role. So I think moving him down from the back end of the defense, and I think that gives you some positional versatility. I think it gives you somebody on that front end that can do a little bit of more. And I think that's what you need out of that nickelback spot. So I think Jelani McDonald, big kid. I think he's 6'2", 6'3" ish. I don't remember. I don't have the roster on hand. But I think 6'2" ish, 200 pounds. So big guy, can play physical. mean, the open field tackling is always the big question or flag at that nickelback position. It's one of the reasons why Jahdae Barron was so good at it, because he was such a sure tackler in the open field. But I think Texas has done a really good job of coaching that up. They're not as whiffy, I'll say, as they have been in the past. So yeah, I think if we see Jelani McDonald slide down to nickel, it would be I think it just means that he's been playing up to the position, because I think this is a staff that's not beholden to experience, not beholden to seniority. They're going to play the best 22 guys on both sides of the ball, and so if it is Kobe Black over Jalen Gilbo, I wouldn't be surprised. If it was Jalen Gilbo early and then they decide to go in a different direction. I mean, and there are guys that you see the lights come on a Saturday and they look completely different than they did a year ago. This offseason probably had a lot of development for these folks, but ultimately Jelani McDonald playing that nickel spot I think would work really well for Texas. He's a physical kid, and he's able to play multiple spots, so it makes sense.
No, and that's the thing too. Like, I think all these guys are going to get a decent amount of playing time, because they're going to play 5-6 defensive backs at a time. So you're going to see these guys out there, possibly even 7 at some point. If Jalen Gilbo could line up at linebacker in certain instances if you need him to, he's big enough on third and long situations. So
yeah,
all these guys are going to get playing time. I think the majority of the snaps, I agree. I think it's going to go to Kobe Black. I just think he's so physically talented and gifted that he's going to get the majority of the snaps going down the stretch of the season. And that's the thing too. Like, I think Malik Muhammad is a really good player. He could even get switched out in certain scenarios if he struggles like he did last year. And I see people online saying, well, he didn't really struggle. Guys, you can't judge him versus what he does versus like Sam Houston and teams like that. You judge him what he does versus Georgia, A&M, Arizona State, Clemson. That's who I'm judging him versus, because that's who you have to beat to win a national championship. I don't care how he plays versus Mississippi State. No offense. He could shut down everyone on that team, not give up a reception. I just don't care, because you should beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State's no good. Mississippi State might go winless in the SEC. So that's where I am with this team. Like, who can be the best guys when you get to the playoff? Yeah. And I think Kobe Black is definitely going to be number 2, in my opinion, at the cornerback position.
Yeah, I think Kobe Black has been, I think, on the periphery. Like, it's a name you've been hearing for a while, right? Like, there were talk of him last year potentially pushing for some more run. And so when you hear that talk early, they're a guy that the coaches really like. And again, this is SEC ball. These are not coaches that are playing sentimental coaching. If a guy is pushing for playing time, it's because he's one of the best guys on the squad. He's one of the best, 15-ish guys on that defensive side of the ball. So if we've been hearing his name for long enough that it would make sense, and I wouldn't be shocked for him to be the next man up.
No, and that's a good point. They don't really have, obviously they recruit these guys, they want them to succeed, but they're not, beholden to them, tied to them to where, hey, you have to succeed. The only time I've ever really questioned Sark's move, and honestly, he was wrong, was when he started CJ Baxter over Jonathan Brooks. That's the only thing I can think where you probably should have started that guy over this guy. But other than that, I mean, they've kind of hit it out of the park with that.
Yeah, and I don't know what the Brooks situation was. It worked out. It worked out as well as it could have, I guess, barring the injury at the end of the year. But that worked out okay, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So that's who we believe will be cornerback number 2.